So let's talk about learning to code. Specifically, let's look at a different way to learn web development, one that's all about breaking that cycle of just watching tutorial after tutorial. We're going to dive into this idea through a program called Digital Moksha. Sound familiar? I mean, how many of us have been there? You've spent hours, maybe even days, watching some really smart person build something cool on YouTube. But then when you open up a blank editor to start your own project, proof, nothing. You're just stuck. It's a super common problem, and it's exactly what we're digging into today. And, this is why so many people who want to be developers just get stuck in a rut. The way we're often taught is all about consumption, right? You watch, you read, you listen, but you're not actually doing anything. It's kind of like reading a dozen books on how to swim, but never ever jumping into the pool. Okay, check this out. This slide really lays it all out. On the left, you've got what we can call the theory loop. This is that endless cycle of passive watching and tutorials that just leads to burnout. But on the right, that's the practical path. It's all about active building, about working on real projects. And that is the big shift we're talking about. And this right here, this is the whole point. This is the core idea. Real, actual growth, the kind that gets you hired or lets you launch your own thing, it doesn't come from watching. It comes from building. It's about switching from being a spectator to actually being a creator.
So what does it look like when you turn this philosophy into an actual learning program?
The whole goal here is to cut through all the noise and confusion, to give you a clear path forward instead of a million different options. The focus is simple. Get practical skills by working with real, functional code. It's about moving from that feeling of confusion to a real sense of competence. Okay, so what does this actually look like day to day? We've talked about the why, so now let's get into the what. Let's see how this whole approach turns lines of code into something you can actually see and use. And we're not talking about building another to-do list app here. These projects are legit. Things like a WhatsApp store, a digital business card, a full-on product catalog, a portfolio website, things that have immediate real-world value. And the best part, you get to start with the source code. The whole process gets boiled down into this really simple, powerful three-step cycle. First, you learn the concepts you need. Then, you immediately build a real project with them. And finally, you launch it. See? It's an active cycle of creating, not that passive loop of just consuming. Now, if this is sparking your interest and you want all the nitty-gritty details, the source material points everyone to a WhatsApp community. That seems to be the main hub for info and updates on the program. And really, this statement says it all. This is what it's about. A laser focus on practical building, using real-world projects, all guided by a super straightforward process. That's Digital Moksha. So, at the end of the day, this whole approach totally flips the script. It pushes the focus right back on you. The goal isn't just to learn a bunch of code. The goal is to become someone who builds things. So the real question they leave you with is, what are you going to build?